Strange but true stories. Tales from the light side, the dark side, and the other side. I'm Steve White. Aliens. Have they visited us? Are they living among us? Or are space aliens just another figment of our overactive imaginations and forever stuck in the realm of science fiction? The following story was submitted to us by Jared Walters, who says that he and his partner Samantha were visited by alien greys who have been delivering a message to them ever since. They started their own YouTube channel called Paranormal Now to document their encounters, and they have shared their story with us. I suppose this story started back in 2012 when I met my partner, Sam, through a spiritual circle in the town of Cwmbran in South Wales. We connected instantly and knew we were going to share the rest of our lives together. We had a strong interest in the paranormal, psychic, and spiritual topics, and within weeks of being together, we're already setting up our first business working as psychic mediums in and around Cardiff. For the first year, we kind of lived between my rented house in Cardiff and my mother's house 30 miles north of the city. It was about 9 months after we got together that we finally found our first home. A small but comfortable terraced house just a street away from my mother's house, the house I grew up in. It was strange moving back to this old area, as I had been in the city for some time now. Life was a lot more quiet and peaceful here, and I felt relaxed about everything. One night, about 3 weeks after moving into our new home, I awoke to see an apparition in the doorway of my bedroom. Having worked as a psychic for over a year now, and having psychic and paranormal experiences all my life, I am used to seeing spirits. This, however, was different. Normally, an apparition will only last a few seconds. This apparition, however, was standing in my doorway, looking at me, and I was looking at it. It was around 7 feet tall, with parts of its body in flux. But when it stepped into view, it looked very much like a tall, gray alien. Now, to be honest with you, back then I had no affinity with ufology. I was interested in ghosts and spirits, sure, but space aliens were a little bit out of my comfort zone. I woke Sam and asked her if she could see the being. She shockingly replied she could, and drew my attention to another one on the opposite side of the room. I had been so transfixed on the first one that I hadn't seen the second one. Sam was close enough to touch the second being, so she put her arm out. Her arm passed through the ghostly figure, but could feel a static. Both beings approached the bed and sat at the bottom to speak to us. It felt very much like it does when I'm talking to a spirit, almost telepathic. Rather than hearing the words, you can actually feel them. They mentioned that they did not understand humans, and especially human emotions. They gave us an example of a baby crying on a bus, where most humans would get irritated by the noise and yet not spare a thought for the child who was in pain. Then they dissipated and were gone, just like that. We did notice they left a dusty residue on the surrounding furniture. The next night, Sam awoke distraught after having a strange dream experience where she was aboard a spacecraft. She was quite shaken by the experience, and at the time I did not know what to do. However, because of our mutual interest, it was not uncommon for Sam and I to experiment with different guided meditations and visualization exercises, along with going into trance-like states. So, as we did this, she mentioned something that had been coming up over the past year or so. The Ancient Ones, Guardians, and Builders, but also mentioned trespassers in the house. Over the course of the next week, we found that we did indeed have something negative in the house, as we were experiencing a wide array of paranormal phenomena. Things would move in the house of their own accord. We had the continued smell of burning sulfur. Sam and I were becoming more argumentative, plagued by negative thoughts and emotions, which were very out of character for us both. We had no idea of where this activity was coming from. Realizing we were out of our depth here, We reached out for help. We called in an old friend who was a bit of an expert when it comes to negative energies and entities, who helped us a great deal, recommending we use salt, onions, sage, and other techniques to cleanse our home, which we did, and it worked for a while. However, he could not offer an explanation as to the beings we saw in our bedroom and the strange experience of which Sam had. So we also reached out to a local paranormal investigator by the name of Richard Oliver. We had met Richard about 6 months prior at a recruitment day for his paranormal team, and he had helped us with a client previously. Richard had several experiences with these creatures when he was developing his psychic abilities at a nearby spiritualist church a few years prior, where he would find himself in front of a council of beings called the Council of 12. They would test him by offering different experiences to see his reactions. Many in the church would comment that when he went into meditation, he was exhibiting a trance-like state. It was comforting to know that we were not alone in these experiences, but we would come to know that there was a much deeper connection here. And through this experience, Richard, Sam, and I have been guided to work together through a series of synchronistic events. However, at this point, one of the things Richard advised me to do was to document as much as possible. Keep a journal, have a camera on standby, or a recording device. This would be helpful for 2 reasons. 1, it helps an investigator to understand the problem. 2, it is empowering for us as we feel we are doing something to help our situation. For more than 2 weeks, we struggled with the activity in our home. We tried everything we could to get rid of it. Having less than 2 hours sleep a night was horrific. We were frustrated, so we tried something different. We went out to the garden to see if we could bring through any information ourselves through trance. Sam went into a trance-like state and brought through her spirit guide, who told us that we were missing one vital ingredient: the belief that we are stronger than the entities that were in our home. She explained during the session that the entities were incubus and succubus, and this is why we were being played against each other. And we had to go in and cleanse the house with everything we had, but this time, believe in it. So we did, and it worked. But it didn't explain the experience we had with the alien beings. About a month and a half later, we met with Richard, who was now becoming a close and trusted friend, and decided to undertake a spirit board session. Our interest in the paranormal had peaked, and we wanted to help others that have similar issues in their home. Richard presented a very real opportunity to do this through the group he runs, and was pleased to show us the ropes, as it were. I don't really condone spirit boards, and you should never do one without knowing what you are getting into. I recorded the session and listened back afterwards to find several EVPs on the recording. A strange voice in the background saying Richard's name and proclaiming, "We are the 12." SBT note: the audio for this is a little distorted, but if you would like to listen to what Jared, Richard, and Sam say they heard and recorded, you can check out episode 4 on their Paranormal Now YouTube channel. I was so intrigued that we might get some answers as to what happened to Sam that we decided to do a second session with Richard again joining us. This session blew my mind, as it confirmed that Sam did have an experience, and it was real. It confirmed Richard's experiences as well. The session mentioned things that were happening in the world, and in many ways was again quite troubling to hear. Shortly after, we destroyed the board, fearing we had attracted something negative. Throughout the next few years, we continued with our work, this time working more closely as part of our new paranormal team that Richard had set up called Paranormal Now. We offered our services free of charge to people who were having problems in their home. I was glad to do it. Not only did it present an opportunity to give back the help that we had been given, but it also gave us an opportunity to study the phenomena. For us, it was a win-win situation. Over the years, we gradually learned more techniques and worked with better equipment, with a dedicated team of about 6 people, some believers, some not so much, but all fascinated by the paranormal. Our cases would usually take the same format. One of us, who happens to be the point of contact, would take down the information we were given about the activity. We would then only give the location to the rest of the team. A medium would then go into the house and see what they could pick up, not being otherwise informed of the activity. We would also conduct several tests to find out what we were dealing with, including testing the EMF frequencies in the home, looking for any ways of debunking the phenomena, as this should always be the first rule of thumb to find natural explanations, and using a device known as a ghost box. Our typical investigation consisted of using multiple tools to validate the experiences. The idea is that the device scans an audio source, usually a form of radio, and the idea is that the spirit can manipulate the audio or the radio to give a response. We have had names, places, and even conversations with spirits using these devices. I suppose the best way to explain it is you're trying to generate an EVP in real time. In May of 2017, Richard and I, along with a third member of our team, Martin, decided to try an experiment live on YouTube to see if the devices could pick up information on the people watching, along with other forms of paranormal-type experimentation. Sam was also part of these, but decided not to appear on camera and ensure everything was working behind the scenes. We used a wide range of devices that work in different ways, from physical devices such as hacked radios that have been physically modified so that they continuously sweep frequencies, to digital apps that are supposed to help one communicate with ghosts, spirits, or whatever else may be out there. Sometimes you don't hear all the responses in real time. Actually, you probably will only hear about 20% depending on the device used. It is only when you go back through them that you can get a clear idea of what is being said. We have done 10 of these sessions now, one in front of a live audience of 35 people, and on at least 8 of the experiments, we have been getting profound responses from beings that confirmed they are the Council of 12, and beings from their number were trying to warn us on that night back in 2013, and also confirm Richard's experiences as well. Throughout these live streams, they have spoken profoundly of how they view the world and what is happening to humanity today, ranging from the mundane to the deeply esoteric. They say they are a group of races that have interest in the affairs of Earth and whose responses have been very close to the work of such practitioners as Dolores Cannon. They have said that humanity, or at least parts of humanity, are awakening and have touched on subjects such as the Illuminati, or secret government, the afterlife, the Mandela effect, ascension, reptilian aliens from Orion that have a great influence on Earth and do not have our best interests at heart. In addition, they have given us great detail into our sacred texts. As an example, they say the Bible is a code, specifically drawing our attention to the book of Acts, the story of Jericho, the Ark of the Covenant, to name a few. I will be honest with you. I am very anti-religion. Spiritual, yes, but have always felt quite opposed to organized religion. Just my personal belief, of course, but after this experience, I have done more research in the past several months into the Bible, and indeed other texts, such as Chinese origin myths. They have also maintained that 2018 is the year when things will start to change dramatically on the planet, and that the UFO talk in the media at the beginning of the year was only the start of things to come, and May 2018 will be a significant month. Whether this is with something physical or something on a more subtle level, I don't know, and I don't want to be a scaremonger. Regarding Sam's experience, in our 6th YouTube session, I am explaining to a friend about the experience that she had. I met this particular friend back in 2015, 2 years after the initial encounter. The response we heard through the device quite clearly was, she was there. Then goes on to give a message about her, even a prediction, which is only now coming true. SBT note: this audio is much clearer. It is being used here with permission from Paranormal Now.
There's other people that are...
Other people there. I know there's spirit here, but was one of you guys here?
She was crazy.
Did Sam see?
Horizon in
So, are you on answering my question? I had a question in my mind then. You just answered that. I was thinking about 4 years ago.
Right.
Where she actually had this kind of really vivid dream of being on board like an alien ship.
When she was there, it was a Commodore. Why did she? Let's schedule a meeting then.
Have any of us ever been aboard?
Money. I had that night something went wrong.
Are you talking about that night here?
What?
We had two beings here, and they were talking about why do we. They were talking about a baby crying on a. Why do we. They were talking about a baby.
So they turn it into a circuit. But sounds a little, our government maybe on the pickup.
Do you understand? It's been a bit of a learning curve for us.
K2 went down as well.
Did it?
Yeah.
Can you affect that device?
On color line. Yes, have a good time. Working in this man's shop. See themselves to be agents or these people. Inspect. Listeners. Couldn't. You have to be careful.
So you hear, it even mentioned her by full name, Samantha. We are slowly going through the responses and putting them out on our channel, trying to make sense of these experiences and why this has come to us. It's something I cannot make sense of completely, and it's changed our lives. We are also finding responses from cases we have been on in the past and not reviewed the evidence where they have come through. One in 2016 even predicting we would be doing the live investigations in a year's time. I'll be honest with you, these experiences have altered my view of reality irrevocably, and have brought all of us on the team closer together as friends. I suppose the biggest take I have on this whole experience is to realize that we as humans are a lot more powerful and gifted than we really give ourselves credit for. These beings have given us experiences, although terrifying at times, that have been empowering, fascinating, and wondrous. Reflecting back on our initial encounter with the alien greys in our bedroom, I'm not overly eager to draw absolute conclusions, but personally, I feel that these beings have a beneficial message for humanity. I don't feel they are just coming to us, but they are choosing a unique way perhaps to communicate with us. I feel that we have been heavily guarded on a journey throughout the last 5 years of which this connection has been a consistent thread. I always feel the best way to approach it is to acknowledge that we are communicating with something and to take a research approach to it. So it has become a bit of a journey of discovery for all of us, really. I don't think I would have changed a thing, to be honest, as it has enriched our lives. But I do maintain that what we are speaking to, whether extraterrestrial or otherwise, is a consciousness, so we treat them like we would any other person. This has been another strange but true story shared with us by Jared and Samantha and Richard from the Paranormal Now YouTube channel. For more information about their encounters, check out more of their videos on their channel, Paranormal Now. Have you been visited by aliens, or perhaps had an encounter with an otherworldly being that you can't quite understand? Then let us know about it. Send us an email to strangebutTrueStories2@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought of this video in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and sign up for notifications so you know when the next video drops on SBT. Thanks for watching. I'm Steve White. Until next time.